In physical education, physical activity serves as both the source of content and data and the medium for learning. Learning is based in engagement in physical activity with the students involved in closely integrated written, oral, physical, and other learning experiences explored through the study of selected physical activities. The subject focuses on the complex interrelationships between psychological, biomechanical, and physiological and sociological factors in these activities. Health and physical education teaches students how to enhance their own and others' health and well-being and the physical activity participation in varied and challenging contexts. It offers students an experimental curriculum that is contemporary, relevant, challenging, enjoyable, and physically active. Integral to PE is the acquisition of movement skills, concepts, and strategies that enable students to confidently, competently, and creatively participate in a range of physical activities. Students develop movement skills, physical activities, and movement concepts as a foundation for lifelong physical activity participation and enhanced performance. In doing so, they develop an appreciation of the significance of physical activity, outdoor recreation, and sport in Australia, society, and globally. Physical education would interest students who are physically active, enjoy a range of sports, participate in sport as a coach, or like to further their knowledge of the physical culture of Australia. The general objectives are grouped into 4 dimensions. The first 3 dimensions are the assessable general objectives. The fourth group of general objectives, attitudes, and values is not directly assessed as it is achieved through teaching and learning approaches offered to students. Assess, synthesize, and evaluate information to take positive action to protect, enhance, and advocate for their own and others' health and well-being, safety, and physical activity across the lifespan. Students also develop and use personal, interpersonal, behavioural, social, and cognitive skills and strategies to promote a sense of personal identity, well-being, and to build and maintain positive relationships. Acquire and apply and evaluate movement skills, concepts, and strategies to respond confidently and competently and creatively in an environment of physical activity, context, and settings. Students are decision makers engaged in the active construction of meaning through processing information related to their personal experience and to the study of physical activity. Students engage in learning experiences that cover the accessible dimensions of acquiring, applying, and evaluating rather than focusing on each in isolation. Subject matter in senior physical education is derived from 3 focus areas. Focus Area A, Learning and Physical Skills. Students need to be able to apply motor learning theory, psychological strategies, and biomechanical principles to maximize their own and their team's performance potential. Focus Area B, Processes and Effects of Training and Exercise. Unit Focus. This area examines the physiological responses of the body that enable it to perform physically. This includes an examination of the physiological response of the body to exercise and training and the application of principles to aid, support, and promote physiological adaptations. Focus Area C, Equity and Access to Exercise, Sport, and Physical Activity in Australian Society. To be physically educated, students should have an understanding of the complexities that surround and influence sport and physical activity. Sport and physical activity exist within an Australian and increasingly a world context. Relating to this, the health and physical education curriculum encourages positive expectations of all young people as learners and assumes that all students are able to learn, develop, and succeed. The curriculum is based on the following principles which recognise that although young people have varying access to personal and community resources, they have the capacity to be healthy, safe, and active, and move with competence and confidence, enhance their own and others' health and well-being and physical activity participation, and enrich and sustain healthy and active communities. In the PE education curriculum, there are 6 key ideas. These organise the content and frame the development of knowledge, understanding, and skills in the personal, social, and community health strand and the movement and physical activity strand within across year levels. This content in the curriculum can be explored through a range of health and movement contexts that meet localized needs and student interests. The band descriptions and context descriptions identify an appropriate context for each band of learning. It is expected that these contexts will provide a substantial focus of the health and physical education program in that band of learning. Learning experiences. 4 units of work included in each year of study. The first unit is biomechanics and its application to canoeing. Second is basketball and Figueroa's framework. Unit 3 focus on team activities, touch football and/or volleyball, and focus on an individual activity, athletics. Each particular unit is set out the same. Per week there are 2 practical lessons and 1 theory lesson. From this lesson, the students will be focusing on practicing skills and techniques leading up to a game situation at the end of the unit, which will result in the proficiency of the skills necessary. From a theory lesson perspective, throughout the unit, the activities in class will give the students an understanding of the topic and will lead up to assessment items that will take place at the end of the unit. Communication strategies. There are a number of non-verbal and verbal communication strategies that are useful in student engagement. These are both positive and constructive feedback as a mode of verbal communication, and non-verbal is to make contact with students that are being disruptive. The mates of the student will generally nudge the student and tell them to be quiet. Assessment. Assessment in PE encourages students to be active, critically reflective, and research-orientated learners. Through the use of personalization, assessment in PE is contextualized and authentic. Personalization enables students to make meaning of the complex understandings by providing connections with their real-life contexts. Assessment involves applying conceptual understandings from the focus areas to the physical activities they are studying, actively participating in physical activity. Judgments about student achievement made at an exit from the course must be based on the assessment program stated above of continuous assessment. Continuous assessment involves gathering information on student achievement using assessment instruments administered at suitable intervals over the 4-semester course of study. Individual assessment items. Research assessment. An example of this is to write an analytical exposition that evaluates the possible outcomes developed in your action plan for overcoming one barrier to participation in netball. Now, another assessment item is performance, 1 sport for each term. Research assessment, which could be a multimodal presentation. Research assessment using research techniques to create a research response to a problem or issue. And lastly, an examination. Now this will test the students' skills in acquiring, applying and evaluating information they've gathered throughout the term. What content, processes and ways of thinking are critical to HPE? Through the concepts of learning in, about and through physical activity, students become intelligent performers and physically educated. Students develop skills and understandings that allow them to contribute in an informed and critical way to varied physical activity contexts and roles. In physical education, the dimensions of acquiring, applying and evaluating the group, the general objectives, and extol notion that one's skill and knowledge are acquired. They can be applied to a range of physical activity contexts and then evaluated to improve student performance and strengthen broaden understanding. HPE is unique as it creates healthy and active living benefits, individuals and society in many ways. A healthy and active population improves productivity, pro-social behavior and personal satisfaction and reduces the occurrence of chronic disease. HPE teaches students how to optimize their health and well-being and contribute to building healthy and active communities. Skills that are essential to learn are access, synthesize and evaluate information, acquire, apply and evaluate movement skills, engage and enjoy regular movement-based learning experiences, and develop and use personal, interpersonal, behavioral and social and cognitive skills.